Learning what to say to someone who lives with dementia can change everything in your own household. It can take time to unlearn, your instincts to correct and to question. But once you do, it can change your days completely. So in this video, I'm going to give you sort of practical 7 specific techniques. Learn how to better communicate with a loved one with dementia, including using your body language and your voice. Hopefully, genuinely help you when you don't know what to say to somebody. Everything in here I've done, I know it works, but you need to be aware that it doesn't work every single time. It works most of the time, but dementia changes every single day and it's different for every single person. So I hope that you find something that helps you here. To do that, I've included a printable guide in the description down below. So before I get into the techniques, there's one thing you need to know throughout all of this. And it's basically that your loved one's emotional memory is the last thing to go. Your loved one may not remember a single word of a conversation that you've had an hour later, but they will remember how you made them feel. And this is such an important point that I keep repeating it in video after video. So for every interaction, this is not just a conversation. It is a feeling that you're leaving them with. So keep that in mind as we go through this. These first 3 are the ones I would start with if you're beginning to adjust the way you communicate. So number 1 is keep your sentences short. Aim for 5 to 7 words where you can. So, Mum, would you like tea? Works a lot better than a longer sentence with multiple clauses that are in there. You're not dumbing things down for them. You're just making it possible for them to actually hold the message in their head long enough for them to respond to it and process it. Number 2 is use their name first. Say, Sarah, it's time for lunch. As soon as you use someone's name, your loved one's name, you grab their attention and it lets them know that the message is for them. Because without it, you could be talking for several, words before they've even tuned in and realized that the message was for them. Number 3, ask yes or no questions. Did you enjoy that? It's far easier than to answer, what did you think of that? Yes or no only asks, for their brain to recognize and give a short response. Whereas open questions, they require them to generate more language from scratch and takes longer for them to process, which is harder than the first part. So save those open questions for the days where you want to have conversations about that task, which I'll come on to in a minute. Number 4, wait 10 seconds. I know this is going to sound like an eternity, but it works. Count silently to yourself after you've asked your loved one something before you say anything else. But you have to give your loved one time. Their processing speed is a lot slower now. It takes the time for it to get into their head, for them to understand what the question is, and then formulate a response. If you suddenly fill in that silence too quickly, you're adding more information on top for them to try to process again. So whilst they're still working through what you said first time, they've now got additional information to deal with. So give them time, 10 seconds in your head, wait before you say anything else. And number 5 is repeat the same words. When someone doesn't respond, the instinct, or my instinct would be to try and rephrase it to help them understand. Don't do that, no. Because all you're doing is when you're rewording something, you're basically asking the brain to start again. More new vocabulary to deal with. So instead, if you say the same words again calmly, you give them the same familiar language and allows them more time to respond to you, to process it. It doesn't distract them with new vocabulary or new words. It helps them to focus on the question that was posed to them. Number 6 is pair your words with something visual. So when you say you want a cup of tea, hold up a cup when you offer them a cup of tea, or point to the door if you're talking about going for a walk or a jacket or something, because their verbal processing is often more affected, like I said, than the visual one. So they have 2 channels they can look at, the visual and the verbal. So let's put them together. Use 2 channels at once. Make sure they're able to see what you want them to do as well as hear what you want them to do. So if you give them something visual as well to latch on to for their brain to connect what you're saying to them, it makes it so much easier then to communicate. And number 7, meet them where they are. If your loved one believes something that's not factually correct, you don't have to correct it. Instead of saying that their loved one isn't at home for whatever reason, and they believe that they live in the same town or wherever, don't correct them. Just say they've called and they can't make it today. You don't want to correct them factually, basically. You want them to have comfort and security of what's being said. So don't correct them. Allow them to say what they want to say and just join them in that reality. Particularly when it comes to grief, you don't want to be saying the same thing to someone who's lost somebody. It's not being dishonest. It's protecting someone from the grief that they may not be able to process something again and again. Or they won't believe you, they may refer to their adult kids as kids now, rather than real adults in their 50s or whatever. Or I think the big one you probably find is that it's all about going back to work. So in the past, I would have said to my own parent, well, you've retired, you don't work anymore. And I know that's not going to work because she's just going to come back to me and say, yeah, I do work. What are you on about? But now, instead, I've learned to say something else. I've tried to switch her brain onto a different path. So I ask her, I say, Mum, tell me about your job. What did you do? And then she starts to talk about it. And then she gets involved in her story. And her urgency to leave just fades. So there's no argument there. There's no distress. There's just a conversation. We've turned it around. And they're no longer focused on trying to get to work anymore or to meet somebody. And that's what I mean when I say meet them where they are. These are all small adjustments, but they add up. But words are only a small part of this picture. Research into dementia consistently shows that the tone of your voice and body language carries more emotional weight than the actual words you use. We all know that. We've heard it all before. But it's even more important when you're caring for somebody with dementia because your loved one is reading your energy, your expression, as much as the vocabulary that you're using. Think about this in practice and what you can do. Get down at eye level. Get down to their eye level. If they're seated, don't tower over them, approach from above, because it can feel like it's threatening without you even meaning to. So instead, sit or crouch down. Always try and get down to their eye level. Another thing you need to know is that dementia affects the peripheral vision, so they'll be able to see less. Think about how much easier it is when you're talking to someone and they're facing you, when you can watch their lips, you can watch their facial expressions, and you can see just from that what they're trying to communicate to you. Another thing is to be focused on them. Don't try to have a conversation from across the room. Face them directly. Put that phone down. I know we all love them. Put it down when you're having a conversation with your loved one. They know when you're not really interested or you're not paying attention. Don't be doing something else. Be physically present with them. Stop whatever you were doing and let them see you. Let them see your face fully. That eye contact, that lip movement just helps them process. And it tells them that you are focused on them. Another thing you can do is slow your voice down. Talk calmer, more steadier, use a warmer tone. That does more than anything else on this list, I think. If you think about it, would you prefer somebody who's talking, very agitated, very fast, or would you feel calmer if it's not loud and it's warmer and it's gentler? And I think you'll notice that more when you're talking to somebody with dementia, that they register the peaks and troughs basically of your tone and the cadence of your speech. And so you need to be thinking about keeping it, a steady level, keeping it on a warm tone, and not, peaking with raising your voice or sounding, excuse me, or sounding distressed because you're frustrated or you're rushing. And then I think one of the key things is use a real smile. Every time I used to walk back into a room where my mum was a little bit confused and I was smiling, that would just bring and elicit a smile back from her. Because a warm face, a smile, Even when the words that I'm trying to say may not register, that smile definitely did. It's one of the most powerful tools you have. And then I would avoid as well sudden movements. Okay, don't reach across their field of vision or enter a room making a lot of noise. Sudden changes in the environment can cause or start agitation that is difficult to de-escalate once it gets started sometimes. So think about reducing the background noise, the television on in the background, the door that's open to a busy kitchen. How can your loved one communicate with you when they can't really hear you? They need to filter out all those noises. So you can do that for them. Turn things off, close doors, minimize distractions before you start trying to have a real conversation. And then another one is that around the physicality, use gentle touch. That says a lot when you're communicating to somebody. If you think about somebody putting a hand on your shoulder or holding your hands, that really says a lot when you're trying to talk to somebody. It conveys empathy, it conveys compassion, it conveys so many things. It can communicate calm and connection in the way words sometimes cannot. So only when it's welcome, of course. Follow their lead, obviously. If they don't like it and they pull away, then respect that. And when you generally don't know what to say, you could try using phrases that tend to work, or you can adapt them to your own voice. Things like saying, you're safe. I'm here. I'm right here with you. Or that sounds lovely. Tell me some more about that. Or let's sit down together for a minute. Or I understand. That sounds really hard. And another one is, I'm not going anywhere. My mum used to be frightened of me leaving. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. And then the big one is always, tell me about this, whatever it is they're talking about from their past, because their long-term memory stays the most intact than recent memory. My mum couldn't always tell me what she had for breakfast, but she could describe her childhood home in detail. Asking about the past is not just something you do when you're stuck. It's also a genuine way to connect with your loved one. And they love to talk about their past and they feel heard. And then when words are not just working that day, when nothing you say seems to get through, sometimes the thing to do is not say anything. Just sit quietly together, put on some music they love, or just being in the room with them, just to maintain that connection on the days when their words are just difficult for them. Silence is not about giving up. Sometimes it's a kind of thing you can do. So bringing it all together, shorter sentences, name first, yes or no questions, wait 10 seconds, use the same words again, pair them with something visual, meet them where they are, and then the physicality things is slow your voice down, get down to their level, don't get in their way, don't cross their field of vision. And when words are not working, just be there. And know that nobody gets this right every time. I never did. I got better at it. There will be conversations that will just fall apart, no matter what you do. If you've missed a previous video on what not to say, I've linked it above. It gives you the why behind a lot of what we've covered today and the things that it's best really not to say, the phrases not to use. And if you're dealing with a situation where your loved one is constantly saying, I want to go home, I have a whole video on that as well, also linked above. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new here. I'm Kat. I cared for my mum with Alzheimer's for over 13 years, and I talk from my lived experience. So drop me a comment below with, the things you found hardest, and I will definitely read it and respond to you. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. Thank you again for watching. Take care. Bye.